Welcome to Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Michael Cohen. And Cohen, this is the first beatdown we've done since the blue tidal wave swept across this country. So we have a lot to discuss there. You now have Marjorie Taylor Greene as, I don't even know how to say this, a voice of reason within MAGA right now, calling out MAGA Mike Johnson and Donald Trump. And I do not like Marjorie Taylor Greene's past. Let me be very clear. What she's saying, though, if I analyze through a lens of right now, presently, her conduct may not match the words, but the words are words that I think we can say are reasonable. We'll talk about that. There's been a lot of legal developments today as well. You had that guy, Sean Dunn, who didn't throw, I guess, the Subway sandwich at the hypothetical ICE officers, was found not guilty of the misdemeanor assault charges. You'll recall that the grand jury did not indict him on the felonies. Remember that the DOJ tried to do it multiple times and the grand jury would not indict. So then they brought a misdemeanor trial and he was found not guilty by a jury of his peers. He spoke recently. You have Judge Ellis out in Illinois, federal judge, issuing the injunction against ICE and Border Patrol for conduct that shocks the conscience, behavior that was so grotesque towards the people there. You have Judge McConnell out in Rhode Island saying that Trump violated the court order there as it relates to distributing SNAP benefits, a violation of the court order. So Cohen, a lot going on, but I guess let's just start by talking about the blue wave. I mean, you and I haven't connected on that yet.
No, we haven't. So look, let me be clear about something. It is a referendum on this administration. It's a referendum on the callous nature of their actions and their words as it relates to SNAP, as it relates to tariffs, as it relates to the fact that Americans are losing their jobs now at unprecedented rates. I understand jobs reports came out in October, loss of 100,000 jobs.
153, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a slew of issues that despite the fact that this administration, that the enablers, that the secretaries of the various different agencies are making the claims that everything is great. When you go to the supermarket and you can't afford your bag of fruit or you can't afford your full grocery bag, that's an old word, but it's one that Trump has brought back. Grocery.
No one heard that word, groceries.
Yeah. Let me be crystal clear. I can't lie to you about something that you are dealing with and living with every single day. I can turn around and say to you, Ben is wearing a pink and purple and yellow shirt. And because I say it doesn't mean that it's true. In fact, you can see with your own eyes, and Ben would say with his own words that that is not the color of the shirt that I'm wearing. And for whatever the reason may be, I would want you to believe that what I'm telling is true. But here's the thing. Tuesday was an acknowledgement. It was an acknowledgement that what Midas Touch Network is doing, what I'm doing, what you are all doing is working. We are getting the truth out there. And you know how you know that is the truth? Because Tuesday wasn't just a blue tsunami, all right? It was a complete and total whitewashing of red right off of the map. And if we continue on this path, if we continue to spread the word, if we continue to get out there and to educate those that are either misinformed, disinformed, or malinformed, rest assured, 2026 is going to be everything that we need in order to get this country back.
So Donald Trump this morning posts the following about Thanksgiving being much cheaper this year, which we all know is false. If you go to a supermarket, I think that lots of people probably share the feeling of dreading doing that Thanksgiving shop this year because you know how expensive it's going to be. We know that inflation is 3% year over year. So for all of what MAGA complained about under Biden, it's higher than Biden. Okay. And when you go look back, sometimes people don't know, Cohen, when we talk about 3% inflation, like what that actually means. It's year over year. So if there was a year of 3% year over year, 5% year over year, 9% year over year, 4% year over year, when you look back at those 5 years and the cumulative, it's somewhere in the range of like 20% increase over those 5 years. And then ask yourself, have your wages increased at that range as well? So I just don't think people know what that 3% is. So that's why that 3% is a significant number.
It is. Can we show the Trump post regarding Walmart if we have it?
We have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw this and I got to tell you something. I'm so glad that you actually have it and that Jeremy doesn't have to go trying to find it. 2025 Thanksgiving dinner under Trump is 25% lower than 2024 Thanksgiving dinner under Biden, according to Walmart. My costs are lower than the Democrats on everything, especially oil and gas. So the Democrats' affordability issue is dead. Stop lying. Ben, I don't even know how to describe the statements or my shock when there you go. Missing context, 2025 Walmart Thanksgiving meal contains 15 items, while the 2024 meal contained 21 items. Amazing. Additionally, most of the brand name items in the 2024 meal were replaced with great value items. I mean, there you go. Thank you, Ben, again, Midas Touch Network, for explaining and putting out the truth. You know, I'm blown away with the fact that they could make these false statements so brazenly as to basically say that you don't know that a turkey today, right now, all poultry, all meat products are more expensive by about 25% than they were a year ago. Is there anybody here that's getting their turkey or their beef products right now less than what they paid for a year ago? And I'm 100% certain that the answer is no. But yet they keep saying it. In fact, there was a video of a reporter asking, or it was more a comment that was made by a woman, I think her last name was Foley, who turned around and said, I voted for you, President Trump, 3 times. All 3 times I voted for you. And then we need your help because prices are not going down. They're going up to the extent that I can't afford anything. And they asked Trump his opinion. It was Brett Baer in an interview. And you know what he turned around, Trump, and said? Gas prices are down. Energy prices are down. Therefore, when energy prices are down, everything else goes down too. Completely ignored the pain that his supporter was going through. Completely ignored it as if what she wrote, what she was expressing, which was heartfelt, was inaccurate. And worse than that, it was completely ignored.
Let me share with you right now CNBC's report. We know that they've gone very MAGA with Joe Kiernan and other hosts, but here's how CNBC described the jobless claims, the amount of jobs that were lost in October following 950,000 jobs being lost in the first 3 quarters preceding October, which is more than at any time since the Great Recession and COVID. It's not a good thing to be compared to. That's the reality. Here's how CNBC reported it. Let's play it.
About the health of the job market. Steve Leisman joins us with the latest numbers from Challenger on job cuts. What's going on?
Yeah, well, this is like a clue from like a cough or a sneeze or whatever. But announced corporate job cuts, Andrew, in the U.S. surging past 1 million so far this year. with 153,000 new layoffs announced just in October, according to Challenger. That is the worst October since 2003. Here are the numbers. October up 153. That compares with September. That's 100,000 more than September and 100,000 more than this time last year in October 2024. Andy Challenger commenting, some industries are correcting after the hiring boom of the pandemic, but this comes as AI adoption, softening consumer and corporate spending, and rising costs drive belt tightening and hiring freezes. Announced layoffs don't always lead to actual cuts and could take place from attrition, but the report puts in perspective what we've been reporting here day after day, week after week. Series of marquee announcements unveiled in recent weeks across U.S. industries, including UPS, Amazon, Target, among others, Paramount, Rivian, all these companies there. Government has been responsible year to date for 308,000. But look at that, tech 141. That could be where you see a lot of the AI, maybe some in warehousing, but a big chunk of that's going to be UPS, as well as potentially some hit from reduced flows of trade. Retail's up there, as is services at 64,000. You take out the Doge cuts, the number's a bit better at 800,000, but still well above last year. Challenger doesn't see much in the way of hiring, saying announced plans are 35% below last year, and they're skeptical about the number of new hires for the holiday season.
Unbelievable. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. October alone, they said was 100,000.
153,000 October.
153,000. Could you imagine the numbers that you're talking about? But don't worry, Ben. Everything is great. It's all great. Everything is great. All right. Everybody's doing great. Don't worry about what your bank book says. Don't worry the fact that your checks bounce. Don't worry the fact that you're basically going to go hungry so that you can ensure your kids eat. Don't worry the fact that you're going to only buy half the groceries because you need to buy medication. Don't worry about it because we got that under control too. All right. Everything is great, and you should know that it's great. I'm blown away. I'm blown away that this group, this administration is just lying. But you know what, Ben, again, thanks to Midas Touch Network, number one out there, number one, turns around and they're able to get enough people talking about the truth, because it's the truth that's what caused Tuesday's results. This isn't about the DNC. I'm sorry. All right. And I said this on television just a few hours ago.
Did you say it was about Midas?
I did.
Did you? I got to get that clip.
I did. In fact, I turned around and I said that this is not about Ken Martin. This isn't about the DNC doing a great messaging job. It's not. It's about each and every one of you, our brigaders. It's about every single person that watches MTN. All right. It's about the same folks that follow me on my various different social platforms or read my Substacks. It's about getting the truth out there and making sure that more and more people keep joining the conversation. And if we keep doing this, I'm telling you, things will change.
And that's why, though, for me, what never excited me doing media network is like cheerleading for a political party. It's why when people refer to me as an influencer, I push back on it. Not to say that I don't like that, that like if someone wants to call themselves an influencer or a creator, I'm not like, I don't look down upon that. I want to be very clear. I just think that what my role is to analyze evidence and data and facts. And the same way the right wing floods the zone with disinformation to bend reality, I see my role as flooding the zone with the truth, the facts, the evidence, fact checks, but going on the offense to flood the zone with facts and reality and really push back against it with the underpinnings of empathy and love and respect and equality, because that's the only way you're ever going to fight back, I think, against the scourge of this right-wing, nationalistic, anti-immigrant, hateful movement that's not unique to the United States. It's manifested in one of the most pronounced ways with Donald Trump, obviously, since the United States has the largest economy in the world. But this right-wing nationalistic movement spreads from Russia to Hungary. It's in France with Le Pen. It's in the Reform Party in the UK that shouldn't even be called that, right? It's in Pierre Poilievre in Canada. It's in the Liberal Party, which is really the right-wing party in Australia where you had their kind of Timu Trump guy lost his riding, a rider. You see this in Javier Milei in South America, in Argentina, right? You see this in El Salvador with Bukele. You see this. This is not. So we have to be very global in our thinking, but we have to be very foundational in our principles and our values. And so, Cohen, that's to me what won more than even the Democrats. It's a victory for a value and principle set. And that's why, to me, when people are like, oh, Democrat this way, Democrat that way, and this Democrat, I mean, to me, it's like, I get asked those questions a lot. Well, who do you think is going to be the president? I go, that doesn't excite me. What excites me, to me, is who's fighting, who's speaking the truth, who's pushing the values that people care about, and empathy and love and respect. That, to me, is what actually won on Tuesday, Cohen.
And I'll tell you what I believe on top of what you just said, and I agree with all of that. But what I believe is that Americans are sick and tired. They voted for something or someone that made promises that they just can't keep, or they are keeping, and it's now not inuring to anyone's benefit, except for the top 1%. In fact, my Substack, Ben, of today, because I know that you've been traveling, but my Substack today, I call it the Supreme Court versus the Tariff King. How many times have you heard on this show and others, my different platforms, all of the Midas Touch Network platforms, the comments that tariffs are taxes, consumers pay tariffs, and everybody now is beginning to feel that result. We now see, of course, the Supreme Court having to weigh in. But I begin it by turning and saying Trump's trade war, it's not a patriotic crusade. That's what they wanted you to believe, that it was a patriotic crusade in order to save our failing country. It is a pickpocket picking, economy wrecking tax scheme that punishes American families while pretending to protect them. That's what it is. And you know something? Everybody's seeing it. And that's why this blue tsunami literally washed the red right off the map. I can't say that enough. It's exactly what happened, and it's exactly what we have to stay vigilant. Those people who are saying this is great, and so great, okay. There's the old expression, you may win the battle, but you could lose the war. That's not what we're going to allow. Not here on MTN for sure. Every single one of us that's affiliated to this network will continue to turn around and to speak truth to power to ensure that we don't rest on our laurels of Tuesday. No, we're going to continue to get out there, and we're going to continue to change minds. And it's easier now because the things that they're doing are detrimental to every single American, Republican, Democrat, and independent alike.
You know what it's like when you go to the gym and this may be a stupid example, but
yeah, because I go to the gym. Do you go to the gym, Ben?
Yeah. And let's say, this may be a stupid example, but let's say you're just doing a task, and then you get that first affirmation that what you're doing is working, and you're like, oh, breakthrough, right? Like, I can do this. Like, I now saw the result. But that doesn't mean you end right there, right? It's, sometimes you get the first compliment or, hey, then you're like, whoa.
Then
okay.
what you do is then you take the next weight up and you do more reps and you do, exactly. You continue to grow and to exactly. By the way, that's not a bad analogy, Ben. I think it's actually a very good one. All hail Ben.
Exactly. But look, I think that speaking of Tuesday, good outcome, good result, a lot more work that needs to be done. I see people in the chat asking about, you brought up the Supreme Court case, Donald Trump's tariffs against the world. People said, what happened? Just so people know, oral argument took place. The Supreme Court never really rules during the oral argument itself. So they hear oral argument, and then you'll get a ruling weeks, usually months later, but somewhere between weeks and months later. So we can expect to get a ruling sometime, I think, this year, before the end of the year. But I think that's about the best guidance that we can give in terms of when it actually will drop. But the right-wing justices, by and large, seemed very skeptical, would be putting it lightly, about Trump's tariffs against the world. So you had Justice Gorsuch, for example, far right-wing justice, and he was saying, he was one of the main people pushing, how could you have this authority? And he tried to even flip it on John Sauer, the Solicitor General, to basically be like, so are you saying that a Democratic president could declare a climate emergency and then tariff the world, and you would be okay with that? And you know what John Sauer said? Well, that would be a hoax, according to Donald Trump. Climate change is not real. So there would be other issues right there. But you had Amy Coney Barrett, though. Justice Barrett pushed back as well and talk about how this statute, this IEPA, it's called, like emergency statute, how it doesn't ever use the word tariff in it. And, it is about banning certain types of imports or regulating imports, but it doesn't mention tariffs. And so there's something called the major questions doctrine that the Supreme Court uses, which is that if you're dealing with a major question, like Congress giving up its role under Article 1 to deal with taxation, and tariffs are a form of taxation, that it's a major question. That's why they call it the major question doctrine, so that Congress would not address the major question by using a statute from like the 70s that has nothing to do with tariffs. So if Congress really wanted to give up its power, it would say, we're giving up our power. This is a major issue. Tariffing the world is big. Here's our intent. We're passing a law. So it's just a framework, the major questions doctrine, to justify an outcome. But it seemed that the right wing was applying the major questions doctrine to say, no, they would have used the word tariff in the emergency statute Trump tries to invoke if they would give that power. So,
but here's the problem. This is amazing.
It took forever, and now we're all screwed because it took 9 months for them to deal with it.
How about yes on that? But in lockstep, what do they end up doing? And I'm talking about the Trump enablers, the guys that are feeding him misinformation and obviously stuff that's detrimental to all of us. They all go on television, every single one of them, from Mike Johnson to Howard Lutnick to Besson, every single one of them. And what do? They use the talking points. And what's the talking point? That the Supreme Court justices appear to be siding with President Trump's argument that he absolutely has the right to impose tariffs based upon national security. That not to allow it would basically mean that the last 10 plus months of his negotiating and stopping, what are we up to, 8, 9, 10 wars already, would never have been able to happen. And therefore, every single one of them believes that Trump will be victorious. They don't just say it in a way that I believe that, Trump, that the Supreme Court will rule. No, Trump will be victorious. They are emphatic about it, as if they're sending a message to the Supreme Court justices. Every one of them are doing it, from Lutnick to you name it. Every single one of them, including the president himself.
Right. So who knows what this crazy Supreme Court does? Like, let's be clear about that, right? I mean, like, they've made some of the most horrific rulings. They've overturned Roe v. Wade. They're the worst. They gave Trump absolute immunity. So I'm not trying to say I know what they're going to do. However, if you watch the argument or listen to the argument, you would come away with it believing objectively that Trump is going to lose and lose big. That's just based on the questions, based on the experience. Again, I can't tell you for sure that's going to happen. And that's where this show is different. I'll be clear. But objectively, when you have those right-wing justices talking about major question doctrine, when you have Amy Coney Barrett talking about the statute doesn't use the word regulation or tariffs in it, when you have Gorsuch saying that, then wouldn't this just allow the accretion of unlimited presidential power? When you see those types of questions, you come away with this conclusion. But, to your point, Cohen, MAGA Mike held his humiliation ritual press conference earlier. And, when he goes, look, he says, if I thought that there was executive overreach here, I'd be the first person to zealously guard Article 1, the Congress. And I just think what he's doing is great. So, we think that he should be able to. Now, MAGA Mike saying that, that's not persuasive for the Supreme Court. There has to be a law that's passed. But the fact that MAGA Mike is willing to say, or any speaker could possibly say, that a core Article 1 constitutional function, taxation, tariffs are taxation, doesn't belong to you and belongs to Article 2, that's the exact opposite of what checks and balances that our founders envisioned is supposed to do. Here's
the exact opposite of the Constitution.
Exact opposite. It's not like it's not a difficult call. In any other time, if you gave me this fact pattern in law school, or Cohen when he went to law school, for a final exam on constitutional law, it would be the easiest question. And I would leave the exam saying, woof, I thought the professor was going to try to trick us. He gave us Article 1 tariffs. That's the easiest. I would have been like, we got lucky on that.
Right.
If they put that on the bar exam, I would say this was the easiest question. Like, it's not a complicated concept. It's basically, for law students, 1 + 1 = 2. Like, it would be like, John Sauer, he's got that sour voice, but he'd be like, the judge would say, but 1 + 1 = 2. Doesn't, well, and if you look at the one and the edge of the one kind of looks a little bit like a 3. Anyway, play the clip.
Read too much into the questions. This is how the process works. I'm sure the court will look at this very carefully and deliberately, as they do, and I expect that we'll have a majority of the court that says that this administration is doing what they have the legal authority to do. If I felt like the executive branch had overstepped its bounds on trade or on the tariffs or something, I would have stepped in. I mean, that's my job as the Speaker of the House over the legislative branch. I would have done it in my own way, to be candid. I would have gone to the president privately and said, hey, sir, enough. I think you're overstepped the bounds. Let's try to figure that out. I wouldn't have publicly had a big spat with him because it wouldn't have been necessary. But that conversation didn't happen because I believe that what he's done is well within the bounds. And so we'll see what the court does. Yes.
So when you say something
could you imagine him walking in, knocking, yeah, hi, Mr. President. Mike, how are you? Sit. Yeah, sir, I think you're making a mistake. Get the fuck out. He'd be like, and by the way, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. And by the way, Secret Service, when you get him outside, shoot him. Right? That's what he would do. He's not going to ever turn around and question the president, that spineless, feckless fool. Come on. I mean, who's believing that he's going to do anything like that? I mean, he's doing exactly what he's supposed to. He's not a Speaker of the House. He's acting more like a press agent.
By the way, it's why these press conferences, I think, have been invaluable for Democrats. Like, it's a gift. Yeah. Right? Because he shows up every day like Baghdad Bob. Then you have like the Midas Touch Clippers, like Asin and others, get MAGA Mike saying these things. The entire country mocks him. Like, it doesn't look like he doesn't look strong. Like, he looks like a freaking liar. And the sound bites that he gives are like right out of Saturday Night Live. Had they, and it would be hilarious had Americans not actually been suffering as a result of this behavior. But like every morning, I'm like, okay, he's doing it again. Asin, let's go. I'll do my MAGA Mike video in the morning where I show his stuff. It'll get 1 million views. And America knows, like, and they laugh at the guy and also kind of just join forces in saying these people are the worst. Or we got to take our first quick break of the show. A reminder, subscribe to @The Michael Cohen Show YouTube, subscribe to the Mea Culpa audio podcast wherever podcasts are available. Subscribe to Michael Cohen's Substack. Subscribe to our Substack. Let's take that first quick break. 2-finger salute when we come back from this quick break.
You ever read the news and think, I need something stronger than my coffee and cheaper than therapy? Yeah, same. And that's when I reach for IndaCloud. Now, let me tell you something. This isn't your buddy's mystery gummy from a gas station in Jersey. IndaCloud is the real deal. Fully legal, lab-tested THC shipped straight to your door. No fake cards, no sketchy texts that say, I got you, bro. I mean, the first time I tried IndaCloud, I wasn't looking for a party. I was looking for some peace. Just me, the couch, and a gummy. And 5 minutes later, I'm outside, barefoot, staring at the stars like I actually had time for them. It wasn't about getting high. It was about getting out of my own head. They've got gummies for sleep, for taking the edge off, even a beast mode collection if you've had that kind of news day. And over 50,000 people already trust IndaCloud to make the chaos of politics a little less, insane. So if you're 21 or older, head right now to indacloud.co and use code BEAT for 30% off your first order plus free shipping. That's indacloud.co, INDACLOUD.co, and use code BEAT for 30% off, free shipping, and sanity in a gummy form. Support the show by filling out their quick survey when you order, and hey, thank IndaCloud for making America's anxiety a little easier to manage. And remember, please enjoy responsibly. I got to tell you about my neighbor's cat. You know, the one I always talk about, Marlo. I mean, this guy is a total character. Last week, I watched him sniff around my kitchen like an inspector, judging everything. I mean, I swear, if he could talk, he'd be reviewing restaurants on Yelp. And you know what? I realized something. Marlo deserves the best. And that's where Smalls comes in. Even though I don't feed him, I know he'd go crazy for it because Smalls is real protein-packed, preservative-free food that cats actually love. I mean, imagine Marlo doing a taste test. 2 bowls side by side, one with mystery kibble, one with Smalls. Guaranteed, he wouldn't even glance at the kibble. Go straight for Smalls, nose twitching, tail flicking, the full Marlo seal of approval. So know this, that Smalls started in 2017. 2 people cooking in small batches for friends' cats, and now they've served millions of meals. Fresh, healthy recipes that give cats shinier fur, more energy, fewer hairballs, and a litter box that doesn't make you question life choices. And if your cat doesn't love it, Smalls will refund you. No risk, no questions. So here's the deal. For a limited time, because you're a Political Beatdown listener, you're going to get 60% off your first order plus free shipping. So go right now to smalls.com/beat. That's Smalls, SMALLS.com/beat for 60% off plus free shipping. Treat your cat, or just imagine Marlo enjoying every bite. It's worth it.
Welcome back to Political Beatdown. Those ad reads are immaculate. It's also immaculate that Sean Dunn, the 37-year-old former employee of the Department of Justice who allegedly threw that Subway sandwich at the Border Patrol officer, he was found not guilty of throwing the sandwich at the Border Patrol officer. Now, there was absolutely no evidence at all that he threw the sandwich. Let me be very clear about that. Show this video. It does not show him throwing the sandwich at the officer. Here, play this clip. I did not see a sandwich get thrown. Let me watch it one more time, Jeremy, because I'm trying to see if he threw it. All I saw was kind of an extension, and then I saw it fall to the ground, and I saw perhaps the Border Patrol agent eat it. Maybe he was just handing it over to eat.
I did not throw that sandwich at the ICE agent.
Let me see it one more time because I just want to double check to make sure I did not see it. Here, let's play it. Yeah, I'm with the jury.
Strike one.
I'm with the jury on this one. If anything, the second time I saw it, it looked like he may have been offering the Border Patrol a piece of the pepperoni, and just, it's very tasty, that sandwich from Subway. Here he is after the victory. Let's play this clip of him winning after the jury found him not guilty of throwing it at the officer for a misdemeanor assault. Let's play it.
Firstly, I'd like to thank especially Sabrina, Julia, and Nick for countless hours, and the rest of the team at Steptoe. And I would like to thank Steptoe for offering all of their services pro bono.
Feeding me.
Yes. I would like to thank family and friends and strangers for all of their support, whether it was emotional or spiritual or artistic or financial. To the people that opened their hearts and homes to me, I am eternally grateful. And I am so happy that justice prevails in spite of everything happening. And that night, I believe that I was protecting the rights of immigrants. And let us not forget that the Great Seal of the United States says, E pluribus unum. That means from many, one. Every life matters, no matter where you came from, no matter how you got here, no matter how you identify. You have the right to live a life that is free. Thank you.
Sean, what does that have to do with throwing a sandwich?
What do you?
All right, thank you very much. I stand by my original comment. Thank God.
And everyone has the right to a $5 foot long. I mean, that was just, look, again, did he do it? Well, I think we all saw.
I tried to watch it in slow motion during the break. When I watched it in slow motion, what I saw was he took the sandwich, and then it looked like he was offering the sandwich to the officer who was hungry. And then if you look, the officer stuck his tongue out and said, "Feed me the pepperoni." And then it looked like it touched the tongue. But in all seriousness, though, Cohen, regardless of that, look, what the defense wasn't whether he threw the sandwich or not. The defense was self-defense. And the defense was, I want to give the serious legal analysis, because I know we could have fun, but I want to give the legal analysis. The defense was ICE was invading our streets and the Border Patrol was attacking us. And so to resist an attack against us, you're entitled to a self-defense against the excessive force that was being used with the smoke and the weapons of war. And so the closing argument is, can you, in a war being declared on you, can you use a sandwich for self-defense? And you can imagine it being a very persuasive argument to the jury. He wasn't using a weapon or guns or anything like that. He defended the community of immigrants and himself with a sandwich. Ladies and gentlemen, find him not guilty. That's the true argument. Just so
that's a fair argument. I think what really upset the officer and others the most is that it had mayonnaise on it. And so, and I think the ICE officer is actually lactose intolerant, so therefore they were calling it an assault on his bowels. But neither here nor there. We saw what we saw. And at the end of the day, it was a Solomonian decision. This guy should not have a record because, he threw a Subway sandwich at the officer and they are aggressive. Did you see the other day, Ben? We all saw the clips of an ICE officer shooting a priest or a member of the clergy. I don't know what his title was. But did you see that they also did that the other night to an elder woman? She must be in her 80s, literally split open her scalp. I mean, They are out of their mind. They believe that they are entitled to do anything that they want. I've seen them literally putting their knees and elbows in the back of people's necks and on top of their head. Guys laying on the floor, they're like, put your hands behind your back. He goes, my hands are behind my back. Stop resisting. Resisting what? I got 4 of you sitting on top of me. Fuck off of me. Right. And, stop resisting. It's like they're playing to the camera in order to ensure that when they ultimately get held responsible or accountable, that they'll be able to use that film and say, oh, that's why I believe that he was acting in a manner which is inconsistent with my directives. And therefore, we had to hold him down and we had to stick our knee into his back or into his head. That's what they're doing. They are completely unqualified to be doing what they're doing. And you know what? Once again, Americans are seeing this and they're not liking it.
Right.
They're not enjoying watching an elder woman who could be anybody's mother or grandmother literally getting shot in the top of the head by an ICE agent with one of those rubber bullets.
Here's the thing, right? Like police departments, police officers, they have training at an academy. Then they have consistent training throughout the year. There are manuals, there are clear rules and guidelines about what force is okay, what force is not okay. So you look at some of the affidavits filed in the case where Judge Ellis in Chicago ultimately granted the injunction. And what the lawyers talk about is that from the Chicago Police Department, which, by the way, I'm not trying to act like the Chicago Police Department doesn't have issues, like lots of metropolitan police departments, right? It's got issues and it's got past of bad cops, and there are good cops and bad cops. And sometimes the problem is where the good cops cover up for the bad cops. Hard to make the argument you're a good cop when, I was a civil rights lawyer who did lots of excessive force cases against police officers. I developed a great respect for a lot of good police officers, and I saw bad policing and the consequence of it. But in Chicago, I think they said out of like X millions of encounters with people, not once did they gas people or use the gas agents over the course of 30. They've never had to use the gas agent ever. And they're talking about the protests after the killing of George Floyd, never had to use gas on citizens. And ICE uses it regularly. And types of force that you see from ICE, it's that of just gangsters. Like, I draw a big distinction, and I think to law enforcement out there, who I have a great deal of respect for, I think law enforcement needs to make it very clear, and they are, that they're not with this ICE crap, because they shouldn't be shoulder to shoulder with these like wannabe, like these like bad individuals who are out there doing really terrible, terrible stuff. So like one of the examples is, and this could never happen in a police department ever. Like if this happened and I represented this family, which I represented families like this back in the day, and you told me that the cops got into the car after removing the dad or someone from the car, essentially kidnapped the 2-year-old, drove the 2-year-old away wearing masks, you would say, Ben, what do you think that case would go to trial for or settle for? I say any day I could hit for like $3 to $5 million, on a case like that, maybe more, because the emotional distress that 2-year-old's going to experience for the rest of their life, you've just screwed up this kid's life forever. You've kidnapped a child. And so let me show you this, Cohen. This is in Los Angeles. This is close to where I live. This is right by where my wife's family lives. I'll show you what went down. Let's play the clip.
The one that specifically I'm thinking about is the one that he himself, the governor of California, the one that specifically I'm thinking about is the one that he himself, the governor of California, was sitting watching this broadcast yesterday and sent a text to my cell phone with a video of a raid from Los Angeles, which I think we have, at Cypress Park Home Depot. I've talked to you from that very Home Depot before. It's around the corner from my house. Look at inside this car. They took a U.S. citizen father out and left a toddler in the back seat. 2 heavily armed Border Patrol agents got in that car and drove the child and the vehicle away. Homeland Security says that father had a pistol in the car, threw rocks at law enforcement, yet he was later released, and the child was returned to the family. Lawyers are saying if there was anything to that story, why didn't they take the kid and lock the father up? And Gavin Newsom wrote to me, I am shaking. He's sick. I'm sick. Our country is sick.
Yeah. Could you imagine if he had a firearm on him? You're going to really turn around and say that that firearm would not be right now on the trunk of the car, as they do anytime that there's evidence, right? What you do is you pull the pin onto it. You remove, of course, the bullets, and then you keep it what do you call it? You keep it open, and generally they have locks that would prevent it from being discharged. We certainly didn't see that on the vehicle. We certainly didn't see any rocks in the area. You're talking about being in a parking lot. What is he? On the beach or something, throwing shot. I mean, again, the fact that they lie and they do it with impunity. They turn around, they make up bullshit stories to cover their own behavior. This is out of control. And the worst part is that we see shit like this every single day. Every fucking day we see this. We are becoming numb to it. It's almost like, oh yeah, well, the other day, as I was saying before, the other day, I watched this ICE shot this older woman, an 80-year-old, in the top of the head. Oh yeah, the day before that, they shot this this clergy member. Oh yeah, did you see what they did? Had this this black guy on the floor with 5 agents on top of him, literally to the point he's screaming, "Hey, I can't breathe! I can't breathe!" They're like, "Stop resisting." I mean, he's like, I'm an American. I was born here. And it's like, they just don't stop. It's almost as if though we are being conditioned to accept this because they expect much more of it to come. And we will not. Let's make that pledge together right here on Political Beatdown, right here on this MTN network. We will not let this happen. We will fight every single one of these ICE agents from continuing this abusive behavior. We will fight this administration and never let them turn around and make this into routine or normal.
Cohen, 2-finger salute time. Who is it going to go to? MAGA Mike Johnson?
Not too easy.
Who?
Has to go to the ICE agent. Has to go to all of these ICE agents that feel that, yeah, okay, I got my 50 grand. You know what? I'm in a bad mood today. Let me turn around and find somebody who speaks Spanish. Let me find somebody who's brown. Let me find somebody in a parking lot, regardless of the fact that they're a U.S. citizen, and let me beat the shit out of them simply because I can, because for whatever reason, I believe that I have limited or no accountability at all. None of this is right. They know it's wrong. They know it's wrong, but they just don't care. They are clearly being advised, like what happened here in New York. We watched an ICE agent take a Spanish-speaking woman, throw her into the wall. She must have been all of 5'2". He was probably 6'2". Threw her into the wall. As she bounced off the wall, landed on her back, banging her head. This piece of shit stood over her. And you know what, Ben, he said to her? You know what he said to her? Adios. Right? Could you imagine? To all of these ICE agents that think that this is acceptable, that this is appropriate, to those that are telling them that they should use greater force, and I'm talking about those at ICE that are in upper management positions, not even these street thugs, fuck you all.
Another interesting development as we're keeping everybody updated on the various court cases. We talked about Judge McConnell in Rhode Island finding Donald Trump have violated the order to release the SNAP benefits. We talked about Judge Ellis in Chicago granting the restraining order against the Trump regime for its excessive force tactics there. The Trump regime DOJ appealed the magistrate judge's ruling in the James Comey case to turn over the grand jury materials to Comey's lawyers. Comey's lawyers argued we need to see this grand jury material because it's possible attorney-client privilege was breached as well. Like if you were using information that you got from that guy Richmond, who was an attorney to Comey, we should be able to see that grand jury. The Trump regime, despite the fact that it was only one witness who testified, they desperately don't want Comey's lawyers to see the grand jury testimony at all, which is interesting. I mean, Comey's lawyers will get to see it eventually once, well, if that agent testifies, which I assume that agent's going to have to testify at trial.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting thing to me to see the Trump regime appeal and resist turning over the grand, like they're very suspicious over this grand jury testimony. I know there's grand jury secrecy, like I get it, but it's a simple case in many ways that if, you know, Comey allegedly lied during this interaction with Ted Cruz about whether he authorized an FBI agent to release information to the press or not. And the question becomes is, who are the people who said that they were authorized? McCabe says he wasn't authorized. Richmond said he wasn't authorized. So if you're going to use McCabe or Richmond as your people, then what do you know that we don't know? Because we've seen what they've said before. And, you know, when we talk about that result of the DOJ losing a misdemeanor assault case against Sean Dunn, I mean, just think about how I mean, Cohen, you know this DOJ. For the DOJ to lose a misdemeanor assault, the fact that the DOJ brought a misdemeanor assault case after not securing an indictment. What's the expression? You could indict a ham sandwich, but apparently you can't convict a Subway footlong. I know people are saying, you know that. But you lose to Sean Dunn, the sandwich guy? And Sean Dunn was trolling you the whole time in the trial too. He was like, yeah, the mayo was explosive. And it was and you lose to the guy, like, and it just an embarrassing and humiliating time for the DOJ, which maybe that's what Trump wanted. You know, he wanted to humiliate.
I don't think he wanted to humiliate anybody. I don't think he cares. You know, that it was basically, you know what, they threw something at an agent. By the way, you know, if you throw something at an agent, regardless, it's actually an assault the same way if you spit on them. But remember, they take everything to the extreme. Remember Trump's own comment, if they spit, you can hit. Well, I'm not really sure that one justifies the other. Neither of them should be doing either. But these ICE agents are clearly out of line. They are clearly abusing the people in the street, and it's just unacceptable.
I want to remind everybody, subscribe to Michael Cohen's YouTube channel at The Michael Cohen Show. Subscribe now. Subscribe to Michael Cohen's Substack. Subscribe to the Mea Culpa audio podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our podcast as well and our Substack. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We appreciate you. We're grateful for you. Have a great weekend. Of course, the Brother Show goes live 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. I will see you then. Appreciate you, Cohen. Always a blast to do this with you. Have a good one, everybody. Shout out to the Beatdown Brigaders and shout out Midas Mighty.
Boom.